Everyone, okay, let me see. Okay, if okay, so my voice is audible. Anyways, so I just wanted to do this stream because Angular Signals RFC is here, and I'm sure everyone is excited as me because it is going to bring some amazing feature, and it is going to actually reduce the mental model which we have always like when we write an Angular code, right? We have to think about, okay, zone.js, not for smaller application. For smaller application, I think Angular is very performant enough, but when it comes to the enterprises where actually Angular really shines, uh, it causes issues, right? So I'm sure if you have worked on enterprise application, you may have actually gone through this as well. And everything comes to one point, right? Which is, oh, zone.js. Zone.js is a problem. The change detection works runs like crazy, and then we have to think about, okay, let's do some performance improvements. Let's introduce change detection strategy on push, and let's try to run some task outside zone. But signals are actually going to reduce that entire mental model for us, and um, it's going to like make our life much easier. So let's go ahead and see. There are actually, if you haven't seen the RFCs till now, you can actually go to discussions, and then there are some RFCs open. So you have RFC for Angular Signals. This is the first one. Then you have RFC signals for Angular reactivity. The signals RFC is just talks about how signals are used and how it will be, and then how it will be introduced in Angular. Then signals API, which is again a very interesting topic. The most important or most amazing thing, right? So about this RFC signal based component, I really liked it, though that it will introduce like some, as we call, right, some extra code. Uh, but I think it will be there for some time until and unless like in future like everyone is moved on to signal based component, which will be like really far away. But at some point of time, I think it will be easy to just make it default. So whenever you create a component, it becomes a signal based component. Hey Umer, hi. How are you? uh, so yeah, I'm just talking about RF, just going through the RFC of signals. So, what's your thought, Umer? Did you did you liked it, or do you have any other thoughts on this? And if you want to join, just let me know. I mean, I can send you a link. You can just join on the stream as well if you want to talk about it. Yeah. So let's go ahead and see the first RFC, right? So this is not this one, Angular Signals. Yeah, this is the one, first one, Angular Signals. So it says for itself how Angular change detection works. This is very important. So in case you are really new to Angular world, and you are thinking that, okay, what is this change detection thing? I mean, there are so many amazing articles out there, and just a shameless plug, but I also have an Angular course available on YouTube, so you can actually go through that. That's like 17 hours of course, and uh, cool. That's like 17 hours of course, and then you can go through it. Let me show you. So you can actually go to youtube.com, and it's easy to find. Probably you will also get this in. You can go to Angular getting started, and this course, which is Angular for beginners, on Free Code Camp. This is the course which I published like a few months ago, and it has close to, I think, no, it's at close to 600K views. So yeah, you can go through this video or course as well. It will like cover everything which you need to know about Angular. It also talks about Angular change detection, and yeah. So, but just to give you some idea, right? So, whenever you run anything in Angular, it actually runs inside. Hey, hey, Luciano, hi, how are you? Long time. So it always runs like inside change detection. So you are inside zone.js. So zone.js keeps and watch like, okay, what is getting changed, and it has like you can say it receives all the events which your component sends. So whenever there is a change, zone.js is in like action. Oh, okay. So I have to do something. Now what they have to do is they have zone.js has to actually run change section for all the components from top to bottom, and like see what has changed, right? And then re-render it, or like update the values on the template, which sounds okay, right? I mean, it's doing the job for us, but not it's not like really performant enough for enterprise application. And I have done like of course, some of the crazy rewrite or optimization in enterprise application where there are a lot of code which is like not really performant. I mean, so of course we know, right? So we can write component with change detection strategy on push, but believe me, it's not very developer friendly, I would say, in case just someone who is just coming to the Angular. And I think Umer has, and Luciano, you both have been writing Angular code. What do you think about on push change detection strategy, right? And as I said, in case any one of you want to just join us, just let me know. I'll send the link and then you can join. But I mean, you both know, right, how difficult it is to make new developers understand this change detection strategy on push, because when you do that, you have to like keep few things in your mind that okay, you don't have to mutate the state, so you have to always make sure that you pass a new state. Then how are you are going to do it? Okay, then you will say, oh, ngrx is really nice. I mean, I can use ngrx, or I can go to rx angular and they can do it for me. But remember, it's not very developer friendly, right? For new developers, they'll be like, okay, they'll be shocked. What? Why? I mean, Angular is a framework, so I think it should offer everything to me. Why I'm doing this? Which is, of course, a little bit crazy stuff. And using signals actually, that entire pain is gone now. So you don't have to even worry about change detection strategy on push. That's actually part of one of the RFCs. And but let's see what are the goals, right? So as I said, it is going to remove that mental model that okay, you have to always think about zone.js se to ba aisa hai. So Angular has clear and unified model for how data flows through application. So this is one of the goals. The framework has built in support for declarative derived state. So if you are thinking about okay, what is this framework has built in support for declarative derived state? So for a longer period of time, right? I think the Angular committee wanted that okay, this state management thing should be built into the Angular framework itself. Why I have to reach out to uh, uh, NGRX or any other state management library, right? And I think this will reduce that pain point. That okay, you have to always reach out to some library, state management libraries, and you can do that just using signals, and it's really amazing. So yeah, Umesh says, yeah, change section strategy always been a pain point to understand. Yeah, explaining is like really hard, right? You have to tell them that okay, zone.js. Okay, what is zone.js? Why zone.js, right? So those are like okay, few things. And then smooth interoperability with reactive libraries such as RxJS. And this is okay. So I missed this one, but I'll come back to this point. But smooth. Let me just zoom in. This should be okay. Yeah. So smooth interoperability with reactive libraries such as RxJS. So why we are saying interoperability when RxJS is actually widely used inside Angular? Remember, RxJS is something which Angular uses for few libraries. For example, it is used at some places for forms. It is used for some places at routing. But there are other places where RxJS is not available, right? I mean, it's not like forms are, for example, forms, which is not truly reactive, right? So you have two types of forms, but you still cannot do, for example, set state, patch state. Sorry, yeah, set state and patch state. Those two APIs, which always has been a problem because you cannot do it in a reactive way, or you generally don't cannot use the RxJS operators, right? Very
neatly with them. That's what I will say. It's not very neat. So this signals is actually what it is going to do is it is going to make your experience using RxJS way better. That's what one of the goal is. That okay, you can now use RxJS anywhere, and there is again one of the RFCs actually talks about how you will be able to do it. There will be some APIs from where you can convert your signals to observables, which is RxJS observables, or and then you can also do vice versa, right? So you can actually do observables to signals as well. Again, so let's see this. So only the parts of the UI that needed updating would be synchronized, or even below the granularity of individual components. What does this mean? This is why it sounds it's much complicated, because Angular developers don't think about this, right? So whenever as again Umer also mentioned, so change detection has always been a very hard part to teach as well as to understand. So right now, okay, from top to bottom, all the components are like, okay, change detected because of course zone.js is there and it is keeping and watch. But with this, with signals, actually we will be able to actually just run the change direction for a component, the component which we are using right now. So let's say if I'm on home component and there are different few other components down the line, we just update home component. That's it. We don't actually bother about other components. And with zone.js, which will become optional once you move on to actually signals, which is, I think this is not going to be very smooth. This is one thing which I have always spoken to other people as well, that okay, we are introducing signals, but it's going to be backward compatible. So you don't have to like start rewriting your code from start rewriting code before you start using signals. You don't have to do that. So it works. It's a backward compatible, as Angular team has always focused on making sure that things are backward compatible and they don't break. You can actually run your components which runs with zone.js, and you have components with signals. You can run both inside the same application. You don't have to worry about it. And then the component which you run with signals, they will have advantage that you don't have to keep this in mind that okay, I have to do it with change section strategy on push, because I have to make sure that this component is performant enough. You don't have to do that. uh, it will totally run outside of the zone.js once you create a component with signals. And then you can do incremental changes, right? That's why this RFC, which is once again signal based component, I think RFC 4, observables and signals of interoperability. This is where actually this RFC comes into the picture, that what in case now I have to move my existing component to the signal based component, and you can use the APIs which actually exist and then start converting your observables into signals, and that's it. Then you can incrementally migrate your existing component, which is zone.js based, to signals. And it will take time, right? I mean, for large enterprises, of course, it's going to take some time before you truly migrate to uh, Angular application, which doesn't use zone.js. So don't rush for it, I would say. I mean, anyways, this right now the Angular team is trying like to get this into developer preview for Angular 16. So it won't be like really production ready till Angular 17. So Angular 17, which will be released around I think November. So yeah, we have like time till the end of the year. So it's enough time. I think 1 year is almost 1 year, right? And in case they launch it in November with Angular 17, you will of course teams will take some time to migrate to Angular 17. It's not like some everyone is migrating on the day one. Uh, we don't. I'm not sure about what you all are doing, but we don't actually migrate on day one. We are still migrating on Angular 14, which yeah will be soon migrating to Angular 14. We use of course NX, which makes our uh, uh, this all migration things very easier, because of course we have Cypress and other just everything to take care of. But yeah, I mean, that's a different story. But yeah, look at this RFC, which is interoperability between signals and observables, which will make your migration story easier. Probably This is something which can be a very good blog post topic as well. If you're planning to write some contents around signals, you can actually write some blog post where you can show how you can actually migrate your observable your component, which is not a signal based component, to a signal based component by using observables, right? We Most of the code which we have today, they use observable. So it's so yeah, let's go ahead and see other things which is there. Yeah, this is one of the error which of course everyone knows, and everyone, I think everyone has seen this error. I think there would be like very few people who might have never seen this error, but very common or very famous error, that expression changed after it has been checked. With signals, this error will be gone for good. So you don't have to worry about, okay, why I'm getting this error and why I'm getting this error when in development mode, right? The answer today is, okay, this is okay. I mean, even if you get this error during your your development build, just ignore it until unless you get in production, then you are doing something wrong. But there are some hacks, right? Some people, I mean, I generally try to show it in by using set timeout, but that's not a clean way, and set timeout is very risky anyways. It will just block your rendering time. So this is going away. And yep, finally a fully zoneless application. So once you have all the components, this is something which you have to take in. You have to understand that, okay, this is not like signals are introduced and then you can just throw away your zone.js. It's not possible. As I said, you have to really migrate your component to a signal based component, and then you can actually remove zone.js. But for time being, I mean, you can just run them both into a same code base. And of course, we'll see another RFC where it is also mentioned that you can still use signals component as like your child component or parent component for your zone based component, right? So they can still work like as a child and parent. So what you can do is, like, in case you are writing new code, you can just start adopting signals even though they are anywhere, right? So even though they are actually just your child component, just start adopting signals. And life cycle hooks. Yeah. So I think this is something which I had asked Chow. I mean, we had no idea about this, that this is something which is going to be changed. But when Chow was on my stream and we spoke a little bit about signals, and then I was like, do you think there will be some changes into lifecycle hooks? Because currently they're like, okay, there's after view init, after content init, ng changes, all this lifecycle uh, like exists, right? So what happens after signals? And yes, lifecycle logs are actually going to change. So that's also part of RFC. I think this is part of Signals RFC, Signals for Angular, if I'm not wrong. Yep. Let's see. Component lifecycle. So inputs and outputs. And let's see. Mhm. Signals will affect many areas of framework. I think it's not here. Then Signals API, it should be here at least. Control. Okay, so this is still Signals API, signals. I mean, just to give you an idea that ng on changes is going away. So you don't have to worry about ng on changes when you work with signals. And you can actually have something called writable signals, which is a really great topic. I mean, because right now, if you know, right, so you have to do input and output, right? So to communicate between components. But with signals, you can actually have component which has a writable signals. So you can actually have a two-way data binding without using output. So that's really cool. I mean, you don't have to worry about you have to worry about less things now. Let's go to the first RFC. So which is RFC one signals. for Angular reactivity. So as Angular team already mentioned that they actually explored few more ways how they can make this thing easier. And of course, they had like improving zone.js, which was one thought. Then they had set state style APIs, of course, signals RxJS and compiler based reactivity and proxies. I think they went through all this. Hustings, yeah man, how are you? Long time. How are things? And then, of course, one thing which I heard about from the Powell's talk when we were at NGBE, that okay, proxies were like very slow for Angular, and that's why they decided not to do it. And then signals were something which was offering so many things, including the backward compatibility. So they went up with like signals, and then they're trying to okay do like introduce this compatibility APIs between RxJS and signals. So all those things are actually making all the development effort easier. And then of course, I think improving zone.js was there for a longer period of time, but I think it's actually less concepts to remember, right? I think if zone.js goes away, no one will care. Believe me. I mean, many people do want it to go away anyways. I do. I mean, of course. So let's see. I mean, so if you see this RFC, so it says okay, there will be signals, there will be computed values, and then there will be effects. So in case you want to actually notify if there are any changes, you can use effects. I think the developers who are using NGRX, and I think it is very common in React as well, right? You have use effects hook. So I think this will be probably I have to still explore, but I think it's very similar to that. That okay, in case you have any side effects, you can actually run this code inside effects hook or the effects method, and then your UI will be updated. But I still have to understand why and what are the use cases. Why should we use it? But this is very interesting. The computed value. So I think this was. I just saw a tweet few days ago where uh, Pavel responded to a tweet that okay, I don't remember who was that, but yeah, it was related to the pipes. And someone asked, do we think that okay now pipes will be gone with the computed properties? And yes, Pavel said, yeah, we can see less pipes now because the computed value can do the same thing for us, and it's very performant. So it's anyways not going to run the change section again and again. So we have even less things to understand, right? Because when you or when we write pipes, we have to think about okay, oh, there is a impure pipe and there's a pure pipe, and then we are like, why? I mean, of course, they both have their own usage, but with computed, I mean, you don't even have to write a pipe. That's very cool thing to do. And let's see, that's how this API is going to look like. Uh, let's see if they have some example here. This is signals and RxJS. This is the same thing. Why not evolve zone.js? Yeah. Um, but let's see the signals, which is should be here. RFC2 signals API. Okay, so the API is actually in RFC2. So you will have a signals API, which is like this. So once you do this, of course, what you do is you actually create a contract between your view and of course your TypeScript code, right? And in case the counter changes, it will update the value. Now, this is something only between your view and your TypeScript code, right? And whatever the final bundle is generated. So it's very specific to your component right now. So you don't have to worry about what is happening at other places, because when this thing changes, it is only going to impact your view, not the entire application. The way this happens right now is, of course, it goes to zone.js. Okay, something has changed, then zone.js comes into the picture, re-render. That's going to like be removed entirely. So now we can just use signal APIs. So you can see, let's go up. So we can see the API from the start. Hmm. So this is how your signal interface looks like. So you have a signal, and then of course signal property, which is type of unknown, and then it has few methods. So there is something called writable signals as well, and then which said you can write there is few methods: set, update, and there is a mutate as well. So if you see, signals are actually returning writable signals, and then you can just do this. This is something which is really interesting, because right now we what we do is, of course, we if you have to define a value, we say okay, let or whatever const counter equals to 0, and then to update that counter value we have to write some code, and then the other things come to picture, right? Change action and everything. So here, once you do this signal of 0, it will just, as I said, make a contract between your view, and then that's it. That's only thing you have to care about. And then whenever you have to update value, you can do calls dot set, or you can call update method as well. So up to you. I mean, this is I think this is replacing the current value. Yeah, replacing the current one. So if you have to replace the entire value, but if you have to update, you can do this. And what is this? This question. Okay. And then there was a mutate. Yeah. We can update the list and still trigger change. Oh, okay. This is very interesting. So you can see this, what we are doing here is in mutate, we are actually mutating the entire object. Nikhil has a question. Does this improve the app's performance? Yes, that's the whole point behind actually using signals, because I was just talking about it. So if you remember, right, like how things work right now. So you have a change zone.js which runs change section for everyone, but with signals, actually this change sections thing will like reduce. So you can just have, like, if I do this, for example, if I just update to do's.mutate, right? So if I just mutate a value for my home component. So in this scenario, only the home component will be re-rendered. So you don't have to, even zone.js will be truly out of the picture, because when you use a signal-based component, there is no zone.js. It's like, okay, only your view, which is going to be updated once you make some changes. So of course, this will reduce the entire rerun which happens, and it will improve eventually your performance as well. And once you migrate your entire application to signal based component, you can just throw away your zone.js. So it's like, when if you see, I mean, if you see the talk from Pavel from NGB, which was really a great talk. You should go to NGB channel and just watch his talk on the signals. So he explained that really in a great way, right? So you can have a granular change direction. So of course, like, for front end application, there has to be some way to detect the changes once you make some changes on your view. So it has to be re-rendered. So it's now going to be very at very granular level, which is at view level now. It is not at the top level, which used to be in the case with zone.js based component. So now we have two types of components. So I'll come to the RFC, where it is mentioned that, okay, now how you can create a signal based component. So of course, yeah, it's going to, I mean, to give your answer, yes, it is going to improve your performance as well. You don't have to worry about change section strategy on push anymore. Yeah, so this is very interesting. So it says, okay, now you can actually mutate the entire object by using push, and then this will do it only for your component. Amazing. That's crazy. So okay, I think there was, let's see, um, computed. This is the computed property. So you can actually compute new values based on your existing values by using computed properties. So here, right? So you can see this could have been a point, right? So if your value is even, then red or blue, this could be a pipe somewhere in some application, but not here. With signal based component, you can just say, okay, this is computed value. I already know the value of even, and just give me the final value, whether it is red or blue. So all these things are actually going to be possible with signal based component. And these are the existing APIs which will be available. I think it will be exposed using Angular/Core, so it will be part of core. And what else? This is effects, right? So I was just talking about, and we'll log them again when either both changes. Okay. Effect is side effectful operation. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. So whenever you hear word effects, of course, that the side effect things comes into our mind, right? So these effects are going to be very useful in case you want to do some side effects in your component, because as I said, when you define a signal, it's like going to be there's going to be a contract between your view. So it keeps in track that, okay, what is getting changed and what is not getting changed. But if you want to do something out of the something which is not possible using signals, some side effects things, you can do it inside the effect. That's what it is all about. So I was right. So yeah, so you can say which reads the value of 0 or more signals and is automatically scheduled to be run whenever any of those signals changes. Okay. So yeah, there is an example as well. So set interval. So you can do set interval and then, okay, just this is just an example. I'm just think, uh, just yeah, going through it. So stopping effects. Okay, so you have stopping effects. Okay. Changes in the sense the effect is always alive and ready to respond to the changes in reactive graph. Such infinite lifespan is obviously undesired, as effects should be shut down when an application stops. By default, Angular effects lifespan is linked to the underlying destroy ref. In other words, effects will try to inject the current destroy ref instance and register its stop function. There, for a situation where more control over lifespan scope is required, one can optionally pass the manual cleanup. Okay, this is interesting. So it's like, of course, this is just to give you an idea. This is same as observables, right? So in case you want to manually unsubscribe to observable, what we do? So you call dot unsubscribe. So in same way, you can also stop effects. So once you register effects, it will, whenever there is a change, effects will like rerun. That's what it is here, right? It is mentioned here that, okay, whenever you want to do some side effects based operation, and it will rerun whenever any of those signal changes. But what in case I just want to do it for some time and then I want to totally stop like caring about if there is a new value, just don't update me. You can do that by passing this an extra value. So you can say manual cleanup true, and it will just destroy. Or you can just call effect ref dot destroy. That's also possible. That's right. That's really cool way. I mean, you have more control over what you are doing. Effects writing to signals. Oh, okay. Allow signals writes true. Okay, so you can also do this inside effects. So if you want to write or update some signals value, you can do it inside effects. The only thing is we have to do allow signal write. But let's go to the another RFC. I mean, this is something which is very interesting. Signal based components. Of course, we have signals now, but how we are supposed to use it? So you can actually use it with signal based component. So now what we are going to have is, I think this is something which should be available as a developer preview in Angular 16, and you should have a flag called signals true. So if you remember, now we have a flag called standalone true, because of course currently we need to um, support both standalone components and as well as components with modules. That's why they have a flag, but they cannot introduce signals like by default for everyone, because you have to write a new way, or you have to like adopt a new way of writing code to actually enable this feature. So for identifying that, okay, the new component which you are writing supports signals, they have a flag called signals true. So this will be an opt-in feature. But if there is a library of signal based component and we want to use in an existing Angular application, that's so Umar, yeah, so this is a very good question, because this is where Angular team is actually also coordinating with framework libraries like RxJS, sorry, NGRX and RX Angular. They also have an RFC open for adopting signals. So probably that will reduce the mental model that, okay, I cannot use signals outside of the component, right? Or outside of the component which is signal based component. I think that won't be an issue anymore. But as of now, I mean, we cannot just like go ahead and introduce signals and change the way our change direction runs, because the whole point of introducing signals is to reduce that mental model and reduce that check, or reduce that change direction check which happens right now using zone.js. So how they can introduce it without breaking? So just to make sure that, okay, everything is still working normal, you can still write your older code, still write your new code with signals, and still works. You don't have to worry about change direction strategy. That's where this signal based component comes into the picture. If I'm not wrong, you can still use signals API, which we just saw, like signals of defining a value anywhere. So you don't have to like do that into a signal based component only. This is only to mark that, okay, this component is actually a truly signal based component, and there should not be zone.js into the picture when this component is being re-rendered, or if there are any changes to this component. So I think that's the only thing. I think otherwise, I'm sure most of the heavy lifting will be done by component the libraries like NGRX, where they will have the APIs internally to support signals for any component. Because if you see, the whole point of like having reactivity is, or having a truly reactive application is, of course, return a new instance, right? That's the thing. And libraries like NGRX or Angular does that for you today as well. So I think for them, it's like changing some of the internals or introducing new APIs based on signals. That will be something which I expect. I still have to go through the RFC, which is open for NGRX and RX Angular as well. But I think so far, what I have heard is, of course, they are going to introduce new APIs for signal based for signals actually. Yeah. So let's see. So you once you do signals true, now this component will actually run outside zone, so you don't have to worry about zone anymore in for this component. And that uh, the way to actually render the value. So this may sound a little bit strange for most of the developers. You see, we are actually doing count of function. So this is needed to unwrap the signals value. It's like the same concept which you apply in observable. So until unless you don't subscribe to it, you don't get actually the value. So same way, until unless you call the function, you will not get the actual value. There are few frameworks which does that automatically. I think Vue.js does that automatically for us. So it unwraps the value automatically, but not Angular, because Angular has to actually support this at runtime. And that's one of the reasons that they have mentioned in the RFC that, okay, we have to support this during runtime. So we cannot actually do this unwrap directly for you. But yeah, so you have to always remember that you have to call this function. I think initially it will be something which will be really hard to remember. I think we will make some mistakes. Okay, not calling function and then expecting the value to be rendered, but it will become like an habit going onward. Same as we do with observables, right? I mean, when I started like writing RxJS, there used to be many instances why my value is not coming. Then I used to realize, okay, I haven't subscribed to this particular function. The same way, you have to actually call this as a function, and this is not going to give you any performance hit. So we have this. I mean, of course, this is something which we have been taught from start, that you should not call function into templates. And there is a very nice article from Mania. Just go ahead and read that about calling the function into templates and why it's not bad as we think. But uh, with signals, it's not bad. Because the value will be unwrapped only in case the value changes. It's not like it will be always keep looking for what has changed, because there going to be a dependency graph of how this values can be updated. I think that's something which is also part of RFC. If you read it in detail, that they are going to maintain a graph of things which can change, or the signals value which can change. And let's see what else we have. Reading non-signal values in template. So, hmm. So here there is an example as well. So you see this is signals and this is not signals, but this is not reactive. So if you expect this value to be updated in a signal based component, it will not actually work. So it will not update the value. So keep that in mind. Now that magic is gone. So earlier we just used to say name equals to this and name equals to that. It works, but not anymore. So you have to make sure that whatever values you want to be like really reactive, you have to define it as a signal. And I think uh, that's a very good cool idea, right? I mean, you know what can be updated and what cannot be updated. So now you have a truly differentiator between static values and your dynamic values. Right now everything is, of course, just write it and then you can update, and zone.js will take care of everything. So this is not only the cool stuff. I mean, of course, you got signals and you now have a signal based component, but the cool part is your input can be signals as well. So if you see this, yeah, so you have like input, and then this property is your signal actually, and that's it. I mean, this is truly so let me tell you this. So for a longer period of time, the community really wanted an way to define an input as an observable. If you see, there's still an open issue, I think, but this will be closed after this, because community said, okay, why we just cannot just pass the reactive value or the observables down to our child component. Now that's something which can be done by using input. And remember, this input is signal based input. So the decorator we have is at the rate input, which you can use like a component which is not signal based component. And when it comes to signal based component, you can just use input, which is just a function, not a uh, not a decorator. So you can do that. So here, creates an input with options. Oh, this is nice. I mean, I can pass extra properties as well. And model inputs. What is model inputs? What is this? Creates a model which is writable. Oh, this is the two-way data binding. This is the two-way data binding I was talking about. So remember, right now you have to like update, or you have to use input and then output to send the value back. Here it's not. It's a two-way data binding. So if model updates, it will be notified to your parent component as well. That's it. That's the only thing which you have to do. No input and output. So you can just say model, and it will register a two-way data binding between your parent and child component. Crazy stuff. I mean, I'm just thinking about the number of lines of code which I have to like just throw away and just start like once start using the signal based component. So yeah, so it establishes a contract between parent and child component. So whatever value we get here, and once it is updated, so you can see here, but model is writable. So if I say check dot update, so it will propagate this value back to your parent component. Nice. And then one-way binding behavior. You can create one-way bindings on model input, just like standard input, modifying your example. So this is one way, and two-way binding syntax. So banana and okay, the syntax one came. Yeah, this is something which we know, right? So we know, okay, for two-way data binding, okay, this is an extra thing which is needed. So for two-way data binding, now we have to still use banana in the box syntax. This is something I think many of the Angular developers know this, that whenever you define an input and output with same name, actually you can wrap it like this. This is something which is still possible, and they're just reducing the number of lines of code, and of course with that fine level of reactivity or granularity which we keep talking about. So yeah, this is nice. I mean, I can just do this. Cool. And signal based queries. Okay, so now your queries can be signals as well. So I mean, when you actually read queries in Angular, it's about your view children, content child, and content children. So that those can be signals as well. So they can be reactive as well. This is nice. So we don't have to what you can say. You don't have to worry about okay what is how your view child or view children component are actually changing. You can just get a reference, and it's truly reactive, right? Whenever they changes, you can actually go ahead and get some value back. So this is nice. So what we have done here is input view child, and if you see this is not a decorator. So this is not a view child or view children decorator. This is like a view children and view child functions, which is signal based. And if you see something different with Angular right now, the zone-based component, view child and view children is actually not available until unless which lifecycle hook is that? After content child. Yeah, after content child and after content children. So these values are actually not available till that lifecycle hook. And here, if you see it's they are actually available. So this is kind of nice, right? I mean, I don't have to worry about the life cycle hooks that okay on which life cycle hook I should access view child and on which life cycle hook I should access view children. So see the level of like things or number of things which you have to remember that okay, because I always make this mistake, right? So whenever you have to read about view child, view children, or uh, content child and content children, you have to always think about okay which life cycle hook, because if I try to read them outside, it can cause an issue of like the value can be undefined, but not with this anymore. That's cool. And what is this? You can still have output in case you don't want two-way data binding. You can still have output, again a function, not the decorator, and you can emit the value. So it works in the same way. Here it is, the lifecycle hooks, the new lifecycle hooks. So if you see this, I mean, you have no ng changes. So after init, all inputs have their initial values. Then you have effect. Okay, if you want to do some side effects after render. So after all the DOM have been after the DOM of all components have been fully rendered. I think this is something I'm not sure. I mean, so I was asking to the team that okay, can we have this mapping between the old lifecycle hooks and this lifecycle hooks, because of course there will be some overlap. So I think once we have that, that will be clear that okay which lifecycle hook means what in zone based component and what in signal based component. This is really nice. I mean, I have to still go ahead and figure out, because this after render, okay, so after render it means after the DOM of all components and have been fully rendered. I think this is something which is really close to after view init, where you have everything on your view already initialized, including your child component. Same as after render, but only runs once. Okay. And after render effect, same as after render in terms of timing, but also behaves like an effect and only runs whenever the signals which it reads have changed. Uh, Believe me, I mean, if you don't remember, if you're not understanding this, I'm of the same thing right now. Okay, because of course I have been writing those lifecycle hooks which existed before for a so long time, right? I mean, it's really hard to understand. Okay, why? So, anyways, I have this asked this question that okay, just give me the mapping of old lifecycle hooks and the new lifecycle hooks, so it's easy to understand for me. And before on destroy, so this is something which is the component instance is about to be destroyed. So if you want to do release some memory, you can do it here before destroy. And what is else? Decorators in signal based component. You might have noticed a pattern. Let's use input in a association person signal. Okay, this is interesting. So they are saying, okay, if we try to this, I mean, this is not very intuitive, and yeah. and not very appealing. This looks very easy to me. I'm glad that they decided not to do this, but do this. This is very easy to remember as well. And what is hmm, okay? But it is the new signal-based APIs behave the same way. Angular process input output view child at compile time to statically understand the declarations. Okay, and this is cool. So you cannot have like a function which is wrapping or returning a new input. That's cool. And okay, they have also talked about okay why we decided not to introduce the chain instruction strategy signals, but we are going with signals as a flag, signals true. So okay, this is the third API, and then there was the last one. I think let's go with this one: observables and signals of interoperability. I don't know. I interoperability. Yeah, this is hard to pronounce, man. I'm sure I'm not a native English speaker, so it's really a hard word. But yeah, interoperability means, of course, like you can still use signals inside observable, and then you can work with observables within signals. So there are two APIs which we are going to get. One is from observable, so you can convert an observable to an Angular signal. So by using from observable, this is where I was saying that okay, you can actually migrate your older code which has observable to signals. So in case you have a truly reactive application, for example, if you're using uh, like so everywhere you have services with some behavior subject or subject, you can start migrating them or come like uh, yeah, you can start migrating them by using from observable libraries like NGRX. They will have their own API, so you can probably use them once they are stable. And in case you have your own handwritten service, then of course nothing good, right? Nothing great, right? I mean, you can just migrate them. You don't have to worry about like, or you don't have to wait until NGRX team drops the support or gives you the support where you can actually work with signals. But you can do this today. I mean, once this API is available, so you can start migrating your components to the signal-based component. But everyone loves RxJS, right? I mean, I do. I mean, the good thing about RxJS is the operators. I mean, I truly love the operators uh, because, of course, they are really declarative in the way that, okay, I can just chain all the operators which I want to use. I can create another stream from an existing stream without, um, like, without unwrapping the values or without subscribing to the values. So all those things are really, really handy. And then you can still do that by using from signal uh, API. So here, if you see the under, this is from observable, and this is from signal API. So from signal API will actually give you observable. So it's, if you see this, so it says it's a function that takes an Angular signal and returns an observable. So let's say if you want to compute uh, some values, right, where you want to actually do it in a RxJS way. That's why they're saying that okay, this will improve the interoperability between signals. Sorry, or this will also improve your experience working with RxJS because of this. So they're saying you can just convert your observables to signals, and as well as you can convert your signals to observables. So still you still have the ability to use all those powerful APIs which RxJS offers. So this is the another API which is going to drop soon, and this is the way. So you can see, I mean, I can just say from signal, then still have pipe, and then do whatever or call whatever operators we want to. And all values are asynchronous. So observable produced by from signal uses an effect to send the next value. However, because effects are nature asynchronous, the observable information will be asynchronous. Of course, we know that, right? We whenever we work with RxJS, I think there is some. I think I have heard about from that team. And I've heard like Ben talking about that RxJS is not asynchronous, is actually synchronous. But I mean, that's the mindset we have, that okay, it is asynchronous, but signals are actually not asynchronous; they are synchronous. So, hmm. Oh, okay. So we are introducing a new RxJS operator called take until destroyed, which simplifies this example. Okay, this is something cool. So Angular users often want to complete a stream when a related subject completes. The following illustrative pattern is quite common. Ah, okay, this is very common. Of course, I have used it a lot, just to make sure that whenever the on destroy lifecycle hook is called, we actually unsubscribe. And this is something which we do generally do when in case we are not able to use uh, the async pipe. Yeah, because async pipe takes care of it, but not in many cases, right? I mean, there will be some code in your application where you have to do manual subscription, and to make sure that that subscription is destroyed once your complete component is destroyed, we generally use this pattern. So this is really nice. So we have this take until destroyed method, which is or operator, which is built in now, so you don't have to worry about it. I mean, I can just call this method and that's it. uh, this is cool. Wow, so many things, so many cool things coming up. Signal based component, okay, some people are not liking it. I can understand. I mean, I can understand that, okay, why a new way, but something which is really needed, as Angular team explained, that they want to actually keep it separate, so you can actually incrementally also. I mean, this is something which I think that okay, you can also incrementally migrate to signal based component if they just give you some everything together. I mean, we'll be lost, right? So let's see how it goes. And with standalone component, the advantage is now you have a new schematic which can migrate your application to a truly standalone application. Like it can migrate your components, it can migrate your pipes, it can migrate your directives to standalone. So I think you will still, if like by the time you still reach out where you can use signals, I think you'll be always ready with standalone components. So I think you'll already have less things to worry about. That's what I think. I mean, I'm not sure how you plan your migrations, but this is something which I'm thinking about, like my application or in my project, that first we want to actually enable the standalone components for everyone, so the developers can start you writing standalone components and then eventually migrate or start introducing the signal based component as well. And this is going to be opt-in, so this is something which won't be enabled by default. So you have to probably enable some flag or pass some flag. For example, in Angular, when you create a component, you have to pass a flag like hyphen standalone to make a standalone component. But now there is a new schematic available, by using which you can just create a new standalone application as well. And if you're using NX, you're in luck, because NX offers it from very long time now. Even before Angular actually launched the schematic for standalone application, uh, NX already had that. So yeah, so this is it. I mean, I really like the way Angular is growing as a framework, and they are also focusing on the rehydration part, which is for SSR, another story. But if you just go ahead and check tweet by Minko, he just posted that okay, there is a new way to enable the partial hydration, and it was, believe me, it was just a single function. I was like, what? How is this possible? I mean, this is I really love. This is something which I really love about Angular. That okay, they break less, because I think not less, even they don't break anything. So they have migration for everything, which can be breaking change. For example, migration to type forms, right? I mean, that was tricky part, but they still maintain that. So they migrate everyone to untyped form, and then eventually you can migrate to typed form. So they try to make sure that you have less breaking changes once you migrate, and that really matters for enterprise application, right? I mean, we can move onwards, we can move to a new and start adopting new features without worrying about much of my code base which existed. I mean, whatever code I have written. So if you see, the same concept is applied here. The kind of code which I have written personally and which I have seen, it's just really bad, right? I mean, of course, there are hundreds of developers who work on an application, and not everyone is writing a performant code. Even me, I mean, sometimes it's just like I just want to finish this, uh, and but Angular team is not saying, okay, just go ahead and fix your code first and then move to Signals so you can like write a better code. But yeah, bring that code side by side, run it side by side with Signals component, and then you can eventually migrate. So that's a really cool part about the Angular as a framework. So yeah, I mean, so I'm looking forward. So whenever this changes are available, and then probably I can do some streams again. There are already a lot of experiments which are available on uh, like Stackblades. I think Chow has been doing some experiments. You have Enya who is doing some amazing things about with signals. And yeah, so follow those people. They on Twitter and see what they have been working on. And of course, Brendan Roberts is also doing some great stuff with Analog.js, and I'm looking forward to how he integrates all this signal story into Analog.js. I think that would be really interesting, because I have to still see how it impacts the server side rendering or SSR part, because there is nothing which is in RFC so far. But let's see. I mean, let's see what improvements signals can bring to the entire ecosystem or entire framework as well. So yep, this is it. And I'll be doing another stream tomorrow with uh, store sorry, so let me show you. So you can just subscribe to my YouTube channel, and probably you will get an alert. But I'm doing another stream with Sargi. So if you want to join this, it will be same time. I think it will be at 9 p.m. And so what we'll be talking about is Storefront UI. So Storefront UI is an UI library by the Storefront team, and it supports Vue as well as React. So we'll be doing a stream with Sarki, as I said, and we'll explore this library, which is Tailwind based, and we'll see how we can actually use some components which are available in Storefront UI with React. So yeah, let's if you're interested, I mean, if you're interested, just join tomorrow around the same time. So we'll be doing at 9 p.m. CT. I think 30 minutes before we started this stream. But yeah, this is the another stream which I'm planning to do. And yeah, that's it for the day. See you. Bye bye. Thanks for coming by, Umer, Nikhil, Hassan, after a long time, and Luciano. Thanks again for joining, and Tobias. Yep. If you're still there, just thanks again, and yeah, good night, everyone. I think it's already pretty late in other part of the world, but it's still 10:30 for me. So, and probably morning for some of the folks based in US. So cool. So have a great day, everyone, and good night. Bye bye.